Welcome back. In this video we're going to be making the watercolor plan sheet for our ceramic cityscape that we'll make in our later version, but we'll talk about the cityscape more, the ceramic version of it when we get to that part. But basically what we're doing is we're kind of taking the top of a cityscape. We've looked at a lot of buildings, we looked at architecture, we looked at skyscrapers, and now we're going to do this top of the cityscape. So we're kind of cutting off the bottom of our buildings down here, and we're just doing the elevation view of the top. So kind of like we're looking down a New York cityscape, skyline, or Minneapolis, or whatever city you want to use as your model or your imagination. And today what we're going to do is we're going to make a watercolor version of your imaginary cityscape. And here's kind of a half-finished version of mine. What you need to do is you're going to start with a blank piece of paper. Okay, that is a long version like this. This template is going to match our ceramic template once we start that part of the assignment. So first things first, write your name. I'm going to write Mr. Lundgren. And then write your section, probably 3rd grade, and write your teacher's name, whether it's mixed, wired, whatever. Okay, teacher's name. Okay, and then flip your paper over and we'll start to make our cityscape. Okay, couple things that I'd like you to notice about my cityscape here. All of my buildings are overlapping somehow. Okay, we want to have some overlapping. That'll give us some depth between the background, the middle ground, the foreground, even though we're kind of seeing a chopped up version. Another thing you're going to notice is all the pattern. I've used kind of repeated pattern with the window shapes and kind of tried to mimic or make the window shapes similar to the building outline so that it kind of follows some of the form of how the building is made. So to get started, you can start pretty much anywhere, but what we're going to do first is you'll notice that this one is folded in half. That's going to come in really handy when we do our ceramic model, because we don't want to have the sky come down too far. The buildings are standing up too much and there's, we're going to cut the sky away. And if the buildings are too tall, they will eventually flop down, which we don't want. So we're going to have the sky go no lower than halfway down that paper. So you're going to take your paper and fold the top to the bottom, bottom to the top, the hot dog way, whatever way you want to think of it, horizontally like that. So you've got a nice fold line halfway down your paper. Then you're going to make sure that the sky never gets below the middle line. Okay, then take a pencil and we're just going to start with a basic outline sketch. All right, I'm going to start with my building here. I want my first building to be about this wide, and I'm going to do the top of it now. I'm going to do that kind of stepped pyramid. I want the pyramid shape to be right up here at the top. Then I want it to be even steps. So I'm going to kind of do little sketchy marks so that I can kind of get it even, so that both sides are even. And I'm going to go right off the edge of my paper. So there's my first building. Okay, my second building, I'm going to have it overlap. So I'm going to start my line right there so it's behind that first building. I'm going to kind of follow the same model as my previous demonstration, just so I make sure I have something nice for you to look at. I'm going to do a straight line down, because most all buildings are straight, right? And we've practiced, depending on your grade and what year I do this project in rotations, you might have done a cityscape in 1st grade. This cityscape can look different, can have different buildings in it. It's probably going to be way more detailed because you're in 3rd grade now rather than 1st grade. So depending on what you want, make sure that you do a nice, neat job. Notice how I kind of found the middle here, made a dot there, and now I'm going to shoot for that dot so I get a nice kind of triangular top to that building. Okay, now I'm going to do one that's rounded. I'm going to overlap it a little bit, so I'm going to do one straight line down here. I'm going to do this clock tower that I had in the middle. I'm going to put kind of a circular shape about there to follow around. Then I'm going to do some kind of curved shape here, curved shape here, and I'm going to swoop those into this clock tower. Almost so they look like shoulders on a person or something. Okay, and I got that one going right off the edge. Then I'm going to have to erase just a little bit and kind of rework that clock tower in just a minute. Okay, so there's that part. Now I'm going to do this other building, little triangular one in the background, where I again had straight line down. Now notice how I've got all of my buildings extending above that middle line, and the sky never reaches down below that, right? Because we want to make sure that we don't have those too far down, because we don't want the buildings to fall apart. Notice I put some little dashes there for where the horizontals will be the same. Then I'm going to do a diagonal, 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 and diagonal, so I kind of have that stepped kind of deal going on. Diagonal, 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 diagonal. So I've got kind of a pointed top to that building. And then the last one here, I'm going to make two little like almost alien eyeballs just for fun, and this is going to be the like crazy modern art one that's going to swoop down, swoop up, go around, curve out that way, go around, curve out that way. So I've got some like little towery kind of thing. Now I'm going to put one building right in front so that it's overlapping everything. It's kind of mostly in the foreground, which is going to make me have to erase a little bit. But I'm going to put a big like rose window in it right there, and I'm going to curve this around. So I'm going to curve down and loop up. This is kind of like, you know, Grand Central Station kind of, you know, train station. It's a little lower than all the rest of the buildings, but not any more less interesting. I'm just going to erase this line coming all the way down like this, so we have that separate. Okay, now what you've got is you've got your first outline for your building. Okay, you've got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings. That's a pretty good number. All right, it's nice and even. Our sky divert comes down below those, below this halfway point. So that's going to make sure that when we get to our ceramic final here, your buildings aren't too tall on the part that's above and want to flop down or become too weak. All right, so that kind of concludes the outline. In the next video, we'll do all the window textures.